Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the RSCast Week 3 recap. And today I'm joined by these two beautiful ladies. How you doing?
Good. Wonderful to be here and called a lady. You know, first introduction after Hops is not with us this weekend. Starting it off with a bang, but
Got to refresh it. Yeah, sorry, Boopy. You're not involved anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit triggered that you've assumed my gender, but yeah, I'm gassed to be here. I mean, what a week we've had. We've had some mental games and the kickoff of Premier this week. I mean, I just can't wait to get into it.
Of course, it's always a great time, getting to this weekly roundup. Everyone loves it. You get some people getting angry, some people loving it. Well, not everyone can love you, but either way, we're going to dive straight into it. And firstly, as always, we're going to the prospect tier for the results heading into it first. And first of all, we're going to go over to you, Boopy. I know you picked out here for Terra mostly, and also on some other results of Exelon and Cardinals. What can you tell me?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, I picked out Alta's result against Terra, Alta getting the 4-0 sweep against Terra, which was really interesting because Terra being kind of the top of Glacies for quite a while, and Alta sweeping, the top of the conference, and it really made a statement that, I mean, they're really the team to beat in Glacies. A few other things that I picked out. Tartarus had a very difficult week this week. They had Xeno, which was arguably one of the kind of top teams in the Glacies conference, and they also had Icicle, and they ended up going 5-3 this week. So they had a really good week despite being, placed 10th in the standings last week. They really made a name for themselves this week.
It's always good to make a name for yourself. And as we go over to you, Barmanitan, I see you picked out Prelude and also Underworld's result 2-2 against Oxygen.
yeah, the Prelude Alter one I did jump to, considering how highly rated Alter are and how much of a difficult start the Prelude have had. On the other hand, they've really brought it back a bit since the week one, which didn't quite go their way. But Alter were playing Gem, and yes, it's a sub game, but losing all four like that, and when so many people not only respect Gem in the community, but respect him as a player. He is a pretty good prospect sub for his MMR. It's somewhat disappointing for them to go down like that, and especially when Prelude spent more time defending throughout that series. It suggests that maybe Alter weren't making full use of the possession that they had of the ball. The Underworld Oxygen result, it's one at the bottom of the table, and one that both teams would have liked to get a little bit better to try and push themselves up against the easier competition, but maybe slight positive for Underworld is that they played McMahon, their sub, got their some sub gibs in, and still got a couple wins for it.
Yeah, Gem is on my fantasy league. Well, Gem didn't really get me any good points there. My little minimum sub. I thought it'd pop off, but unfortunately, it's just not his week yet. He's waiting for playoffs to get that energy in. But I got to point out myself, Caro actually. Going for 7-1. That cannot go unnoticed. You could argue, it wasn't really your tough games, but it's always good to grab those wins of results when needed. And they didn't drop too many games, only dropping one game, so cannot complain about that. Congrats to them. And as we go over to the standings, we're gonna head over to Glacies first. And I'll go to you, Boopy, first. Is there any surprising rise or falls that you can notice? And, actually look at it. There's no one who stayed in their same position.
Yeah, I mean, you have to mention Terra here. I mean, they had such a good kind of start to the season and just not the best this week, dropped down to 5th. Apart from that, it stayed quite kind of similar. Everyone just moving up a spot, Alta staying at the top. And it is very, very close if you look at kind of the top 5. They're only, 2-3 games apart, so it definitely could change a lot next week.
For sure, and also Barmanitan, your team there rising up. You got any, inside info of how did it go in week 3? Oh yeah, there we go, boys. There's the first mess up. I knew it was coming soon. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, I mean, the first week we've gone positive. I mean, Boopy's trying to back off from being biased, so I guess it's my turn. But yeah, it's a good turnaround. And Limousine, they're a great team to be in 10th. You can really see how much closer this one is before we go over to Ignis. Like, every single team within 7 wins of each other, and there's going to be a lot of shifts the whole way through. We move up this week, but we could go straight back to 10th next time, and maybe even overtake someone else and Limousine then shoot up. I don't know what's going to happen in Glacies here, because we're all so close. You see the three-way tie coming in the middle, and teams going up into that tie and teams coming down into that tie.
Yeah, it's looking very close. I mean, that's something that everyone values in the RSC format. Any week, any team can just pop off and rise up the standings. But we'll keep with you, Barmanitan, in the Ignis standings.
And you can immediately see how much more static this is looking to be. There's 12 wins between top and bottom compared to 7, and 5 teams staying the same. We see Istok drop to bottom, but we're way tied. In order for that to happen means that it's only because of their goal difference as Oberon and Underworld jump up. That Underworld Oxygen draw, you can see how much more that a win for either of those teams would have meant, considering that you're trying to get top 6 here, and they're already all 3 wins off of it. But rising up at the top, you can sort of see the top 3, and Caro have really pulled themselves back into it with that 7-1, trying to catch up to Cardinals and Exelon, who are setting an excellent precedent, but all of their goal difference is far ahead of everyone else. You can really see that these are going to be the teams to beat from Ignis.
Yeah, 4-way tie at the bottom, fighting to climb into that play-in position, which is the top 6 for the people that do not know. But as we go over to the fixtures for the prospect tier, we're going to see what juicy matchups are, up to come in the future. And I mean, only results can only get closer and closer. But as we can see here, what really stands out in your eyes here, Boopy?
You know what? This is going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting pick. But I'm going for Terra versus Tartarus. Despite what I said last week, Barmanitan. Sorry about that. But I really do think Tartarus is a solid team. Despite where they are in the standings, it's actually quite surprising that they're that low, because they've got a lot of decent results against some of the top teams. So I'm quite interested to see how they face off against Terra. I'm also got my eyes glued on Icicle versus Terra as well. That's gonna be an interesting match. I've just seen a cracking match on the other side in Ignis. Cardinals versus Exelon. I mean, everyone has to be wanting to watch that one.
I mean, yeah. I mean, who would have wanted to watch that? But,
only me.
yeah, apparently you're going to be the only one going to be watching that game. But as you saw, Arcon in chat, apparently Exelon using sub this week. So, how do you think that will plan out, Barmanitan? Exelon Cardinals with a sub game.
But it does make it more interesting, especially if they can get a couple of wins on there. Really shows that they're going to be an even tougher team to beat. But I think another piece of this puzzle here is the fact that, yes, Caro play Exelon, so that's also going to be a tough game for them, another top 3 matchup, but Caro go up against Istok, who are bottom of this table, and that's the sort of matchup that really allows Caro to pick up that little bit of slack that they've dropped, only 2 games behind them, but still trying to have to make that up. But game against Istok, it's going to take a huge amount of effort from Istok to prevent Caro from heading for even further up the table than they already are. What's Cardinals' other game here? If I look, Oberon, I mean, that's arguably an easy game as well. It's one of those teams that are tied for at the bottom, so on the same token, it's going to require a huge week from Exelon, considering they're playing 1st and 3rd this week if they are to keep up in this top 3 race.
Yeah, well, these are your fixtures in the upcoming week for everyone in the chat. Get your predictions. Who you think is going to beat who? Is it going to be some saucy draws? But it is going to end it for the prospect tier as we go into the challenger results. And I'm going to go for you, Boopy, as you have pointed out here with Scorn, Arcus and Xeon with their results, and also Zyron.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to speak a little bit about Scorn, and they didn't have the best start to the season coming into it, but I know they had made a few roster changes, and I expected a little bit of kind of them working out with the roster changes and getting a bit better results, but not the best week coming in from Scorn, especially the result against Arcus, losing out 1-3 to Arcus. And then Xeon, arguably a more difficult match, but getting swept against Arcus, having a 1-7 week. I mean, yeah, not really what I expected from Scorn, especially with the roster changes. But hopefully, as the chemistry comes in, they will be able to kind of pick up the pieces. But as well, Xeon taking down overall. And I remember last week I said there's a lot of hype built around Xeon, being the previous champions last season. And they really ramped up the results this week. They ended up taking down the 2nd team in the conference 3-1, and they finished off the week 7-1. So,
and on top of that, Overrule just went 8-0 as well last week, so that's maybe an even more impressive result.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, well, as we go over to you, Barman, I see you pointed out Cerberus's 3-1 onto the top leading team in the standings, and also you pointed out Orcus's comeback.
Yeah, Cerberus versus Fearless Delta was one that I spotted out. Cerebrus, a team that have maybe been slightly disappointing since their preseason win. We're going to be harping back to it a lot, but when you set that high of a precedent and you don't live up to it, it's going to be tough. But they turn it around this week after their 2 losses in week 2. They've gone both games winning, and 12-2 in goals against Fearless Delta, with the only goals from Delta coming in their overtime win, means that Cerebrus thoroughly outplayed them there and deservedly took this series. We also do see Orcus's comeback against Nezuko Gang. Another clash at the bottom, like Underworld versus Oxygen in Prospect, is one of those ones where you really want to get a result against the teams in and around you, but just couldn't happen. But luckily for Orcus, they did pull it back to at least grab a draw and, you know, keep some hope of at least clawing back at the bottom here, because they're on 7 and 6, Orcus and Nezuko Gang respectively, so there's very much work to be done here going into the coming weeks.
And as you can see, we've got a few draws there coming from that Glacier side, showing a little bit of competition in the tables, but enough of the results as we do head in to the Glacier's standings. And Boopy, back at you again. What can you tell us from these standings? A little less movement this time compared to Prospect.
Yeah, a little bit less movement, and this table's a lot more spread out than the kind of Prospect side of Glaciers. I mean, if you look at the difference between second and third, there's 3 games there, and a lot of the teams right at the bottom, they're really quite kind of low on the wins compared to the top teams. So it's getting to the point in Glaciers where if you're quite low down in the table, you really need to start getting these results in, and every game really matters because you need to move up quickly, because, I mean, the teams at the top really are raking in the wins and kind of running away with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look at top two's goal difference just compared to everyone. You know, we're seeing a negative goal difference in third and fourth.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw in the notes as well that Parthenae even went positive this week, but they had -3 goal difference this week. Like, the teams below them are struggling to even score, and then you have Shrine on 72 goals and Glacier on only 33 goals against. They're really proving their worth at the moment.
Yeah, we know goal difference can be a big play, you know, coming to those tiebreakers, especially if you get that tiebreaker on the team in your series. So, you know, goal difference is going to be a big play as you get, you know, later on in the season if you're wanting to clinch those higher play-in spots. But as we go over to the Ignis tier now, Barmanitan, what can you tell from here as we do move over to this tier? A much more movement here compared to Glaciers.
Yeah, the whole middle of the pack shifting around here. Mentioned Cerebrus going positive this time, and Boopy mentioned Arcus getting the win over Scorn means they jump above them. You can see how much those results do affect the standings, but even with that loss from Overrule, was it if I try and get the right team that it was against? It was Zion. They still stay second with Fearless Delta just one ahead of them, and you know it means Zion are catching up, but Overrule and Delta, they stay in first and second, and like on the other side, they're trying to pull away. Maybe not quite so much, you know, their goal difference isn't quite as impressive, but they still stay firm there for now.
Yeah, for sure. Masai, you know, 4th place team. They dropped down a spot, but a plus 20 goal difference. And I mean, I got to be honest here, you know, just hearing from challenger players, they think people overrated Masai, but I got to be honest, they're really proving themselves this season.
5 matches unbeaten as well. They lost their first one and then they won 3 and drew 2, so making sure that nobody can beat them on the pitch.
Yeah, well, Masai looking to climb next week, but we're going to go over to the fixtures to see who they will actually play in week 4, and also to see if there's any top dogs fighting another top dog to really shift the standings. And Boopy, what can you give me? What match are you looking forward to?
Oh, well, I'm always looking at the top dogs, and I see 2, one in Glaciers, one in Ignis. Obviously, Glacier versus Shrine. That's going to be a pretty big matchup with, especially with how spread the table is. The fact that Glacier and Shrine have a lot more wins than the other teams in the conference, that's going to be a really, really important match for both those teams to kind of get ahead. Also, I'm looking at Fearless Delta versus Helium, which is a bit of an interesting one, but I do really rate this Helium roster. They've had a pretty decent week this week, got a few results back in, and it's going to be interesting to see how, see the result of that one as well.
For sure. And Barmanitan, you got any saucy ones yourself?
I'm going to stick with Ignis, but I'm going to go slightly further down the table and stick with Helium. But look at their match against Cerebrus. 2 teams that went unbeaten last week and rose up the standings will face off against each other. And that one is before the Fearless Delta match, so that might set the tone for how Helium will play there and how Cerebrus will face off against Arcus, the other team that moved up with them. So interesting to see there how they can carry forward the momentum. Another one even further down is Scorn versus Crusaders, the bottom of the, not quite the bottom of the table clash. Luna Atlas still below them, but both of them lost both their matches last week and really need this bounce back now. It will be going down tomorrow, and if either of them get a win there, that could be the result that really turns their season around.
Personally, I'm definitely looking at the Messiah and Zion game. Zion, sorry, being the reigning champions last season and Messiah being this upcoming team, I think that's going to be a very interesting game. And if Messiah could take that series, I mean, that's surely got to make a statement and maybe make the other teams a little bit scared.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it has to, really.
Well, we finish up with the challenger fixtures, and we're going to head over to the rival tier now. We're going to see those results as week 3 has concluded. And we're going to go back to you, Boopy, and I see you pointed out Blizzard's 3-1, and also Neri getting that 4-0 on Toxin.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with the non-biased result. I'll start with Neri, and that was completely unexpected for me. I mean, Toxin being one of the top dogs in Ignis, getting swept by Neri, and hold on, sorry, I've misplaced my sheet. Yeah, completely unexpected result from Neri, getting a sweep against Toxin. And Toxin finished top 2 last week, and now, due to this result and their other result, losing 3-1 against Yoruba, they've dropped down to 5th, which is kind of unfortunate for them. I do see them as a really strong roster, and I definitely see kind of potential for them to bounce back, but not the best week from them, ideally. Blizzard versus Uranum, I was really happy with this matchup. Blizzard playing 4 sub-games here against Uranum, and able to get the 3-1. Obviously, the 3-1 merchants never get the 4-0, but Uranum actually picking up Luke. It's going to be interesting to watch Uranum's results next week, because I do rate Luke as a player. I think he's really, really good, and he's going to add a lot to that roster.
Sure, I personally can't wait to see what Luke can bring to that team. We all know he's a solid player. I mean, we could expect maybe that team to climb to play-ins, but who knows, there's plenty of weeks to go. But Barmanitan, you picked out in rival Arena Tribe's result on Concerto, and also Unity getting that 3-1 onto Yoruba.
Yeah, this was a really, really important week for Arena Tribe. We saw Uranum and Overkill keep up their losing streaks, both at the bottom of their conferences, with 6 losses so far. But Arena Tribe, they'd lost their first 4 matches this week. They drew and they won. That match against Concerto, trying to push them further up the standings. It is their first win, and Turtle had a 60% shooting percent accuracy in that series to really step it up for Arena Tribe and make sure that they were making the most of the chances. That's what gets them the win at the end of the day. Unity versus Yoruba, it's not an easy win for Unity at all, evidenced from Yoruba's 3-1 win over Toxin, and it's actually Yoruba's first loss of the season, so big moves coming out from Unity to try and push themselves up. They were a team that was kind of hard to know what to make of them preseason, but they're certainly at least living up to the hype at the moment. They're keeping pace with the top teams in Ignis and looking good to continue, especially with that result against Yoruba. But the other team I was thinking about was Pandora. It's their first 2 wins since a promising preseason that hasn't really been executed so far until this week. And maybe there's an argument that their strength of schedule was good going up against bottom 2 teams, Hydra and Overkill, but still, you got to beat what's put in front of you, and their first 2 wins will absolutely help them with their momentum and positivity going forward.
For sure, you got to start somewhere. You can't expect to lose to the bottom teams and beat the top teams to make it there. You got to beat everyone if you want to get your chance in the play-ins or even the playoffs. And you got to give a mention to Sorcerers. They're getting that 7-1 week. They got that 3-1 onto Erebos, who are kind of a mid-table team, so it's a solid result. And also finding that sweep onto Zyphos. Not doing the best of results, but they're holding a neutral goal difference, just sitting at the bottom end of the standings. But as we will go into the Glacies standings to see how things did shift after those results. And Boopy, we barely see movement, just a little bit at the top and bottom, and the goal difference still substantially quite equal in the mid-tier. What can you tell me?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's keeping kind of very, very similar. Sorcerers taking Montbéliard, but I mean, they're only really 1 game apart. And I mean, from kind of position to position, it is quite close between like each kind of position. So first and second's really close. Second and third, it's all very close. I mean, a lot could change, but if you look at kind of the bottom teams compared to the top, there is quite a big gap. So Yeah, as I was saying before, the lower teams really need to get as many wins as they can to move up in these standings. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves in a tricky position.
Could be a tricky one indeed, and I really honestly look forward to seeing Uranum, in this next week with Luke. And I think it's all going to come down to, with the time that they've had now with Luke, obviously not too much time, but I want to see how they connect with him, because I feel like if they could just play it as a team and allow Luke to be this really dominant, confident player that he can be, we could really see this team climb just in a matter of a couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I can see them moving up a lot of spots with Luke, especially if he kind of feels comfortable on that team. He'll do a madness on that roster.
For sure. But as we go over to the Ignis standings now, we switch over to the red side. And Barmanitan, I'll come over to you. What can you tell me with this movement as we see Yoruba, Fearless Charlie, and Neri climbing up?
Yeah, Yoruba, despite their first loss, that win over Toxin was enough to push them up above them, and as well, Neri, Fearless Charlie, and Unity all overtaking Toxin. Even if Unity don't move, Toxin still had to move below them for that to happen. So still very close, but it's a damaging one for Toxin. It's a highly rated team. You can see from the amount of people that are picking them in Fantasy League that this is a respected team. But now, in and amongst that mid-table battle, it's going to be more challenging for them. We don't see any movement at the bottom, but as I mentioned, Pandora did go 6-2, or at least they got the 2 wins, so it's at least 6-2. So they're really trying to punch up here and make sure that they are still involved in this battle for 6th place and into the play-ins.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Pandora's recent wins, they're the only team in that bottom 4 who's even grabbed at least 1 win. Overkill, not even finding a draw yet, so still looking to find a result for themselves, but hopefully they look to climb. But as we go over to the fixtures, we'll see, is it possible for all these teams to climb, or are they going to have a tough week ahead of them? Well, we are going to find out as we do come over to you, Boopy. Is there a result that you really look forward to, and, what team really tickles you for a good result?
Well, I'm interested in Zyphos's. Oh, that's difficult to say. Zyphos's games this week. Zyphos against Sanctum and against Montpellier are definitely a solid team. They didn't have the best result last week, getting swept by Sorcerers, so I expect them to kind of bounce back this week. And it's going to be interesting to see how they perform. Also, Sentinels, have to mention, they had a kind of a streak of wins, finally getting a draw last week. So that streak has kind of ended, but I expect them to bounce back as well. So I think their matches against Neri and Yoruba are definitely going to be interesting.
Very interesting. I mean, we got also mentioned to Yoruba, really strong team. We saw on stream, Flow just popping off in that roster. So Sentinels are definitely going to have a tough matchup there. But Manatan, what results tickle you?
Well, we have had one result come through here. It's the only match going down tonight in Rival. It's Neri versus Unity. And Neri win it again. So after losing both their matchups in week 2, they're now unbeaten in 3 and really looking like a force to be reckoned with. Maybe Nine's esports best representation from the franchise as they're pushing higher up. That one does put them above Unity. Elsewhere, they're all so good that it's hard to pick just one. Maybe Journeyman, Arena Tribe, another one at the bottom. Well, Journeyman 3 clear of Arena Tribe, but considering Arena Tribe's recent upturn in results, that's maybe one for Journeyman to look out for. And we saw on stream that Journeyman certainly have their weaknesses in their 0-4 sweep to Sorcerers. Just all of them really. It's another really close tier and another one where pretty much every result can turn the tides of the tables.
For sure. And I mean, everyone's going to be looking at that Blizzard Montpellier result. That's going to be a close series indeed. I mean, I would expect the draw, but whoever wins that series, it's fair credit to them, and they're going to be looking strong heading into their future weeks. But that is the fixtures for the rival tier. As we will go over to the elite tier now, we're going to see the results in the elite tier. And I mean, it's been a good week from the elites. They've not had bad ones themselves. And we're going to come over to you, Boopy, as you pick out Argon's 2-2 on Venom that I'm pretty sure most of us saw on stream, and also Enclave and Bladesmith's result.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, Argon versus Venom, we have to mention that match. I mean, what an insane match, especially on the stream as well. And ending in a 2-2, which was quite interesting. So it shows that Argon and Venom definitely are kind of neck and neck in their conference. So the top dog in their conference is going to be decided on how well those teams perform against the other teams in their conference, and that will really kind of tell the difference between the top dogs, the top dog in that conference. Enclave I picked out because of the recent roster change. Oh no, sorry, I'm getting confused. That's Master.
Cool.
Enclave getting a good result against Eros, getting a draw. I think there was a recent roster change on Enclave. Yeah, bringing in Blizzy, and yeah, pulling in good results from that is good for them. The Bladesmiths result, I picked out Bladesmiths versus Temple being a 2-2. Temple not really the strongest team in the Glacies conference. And despite Bladesmiths playing their sub Ansu still being a really solid player. So yeah, that kind of draw quite surprised me, to be honest.
Interesting. And as we go over to you, Barmanitan, you picked out Megumin's losing streak and also Overtake finding their 2-2 onto Fearless Bravo, which I believe is their first result that's not been a loss.
Yeah, they finally picked up a result. It is against your team, unfortunately, but it's great for them. They were all 1-goal games, so it certainly wasn't easy for Overtake to find it, but they battled through. Deddy was in there as a sub for them. And it was really a lot of the time about their defense. They had a lot more saves than Fearless Bravo, and Fearless Bravo had a lot more shots, showing that they were clinging on for periods of it, but still held on for the draw. And then the Megumin losing streak. They've gone 1-7 here. They've still win, not doing anything for their position in the table pretty much. And after a decent week one, I'd say it's really fallen off for them, and down in last place in the table. It's really not looking very good. At least they're not the bottom of the other side of the table, but though, which is a slightly different story. Than they're at least 7 wins.
I gotta be honest. I from experience, I can feel Zulu's pain. I've been not as the player, but I've been there as a GM.
As the GM. Yeah.
I mean,
we know a thing or two about that on RSCast.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta be honest. As we'll see later on, Papusa, despite with that team in franchise standings, he's doing pretty well. So it's credit to him, but it's just unfortunate that his elite team aren't quite finding their first win just yet. But as we'll go over to the standings now, we're going to start off with Glacies. We're going to save, the top 9 of Ignis. But as we go into Glacies, Boopy, what can you tell me here?
Well, yeah, Bladesmiths still keeping that top spot. Zala very, very close behind, and Rhapsody also very close behind. Rhapsody having a good week this week, and it kind of secures that top 3 a little bit, only 1 game apart. And then, the 4th to 6th, very close, also only 1 game apart. And then below that, it just kind of trails down. So yeah, I mean, it is all very close, especially that top kind of 9 is quite close together. So it could definitely, change a lot in this next week.
For sure, and surprising to other tiers that we've seen, the kind of bottom half of the table, there's not really a massive goal difference. Obviously, you're going to be negative being down there, but we've not seen that one team that just gets absolutely farmed on goals with like a big -40 or something. So it's interesting to see how close Glacies actually is. That every win has to be deserved. But as we go to the Ignis side, Barmanitan, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, there's the obvious situation down at the bottom here, but the more important battle is at the top. It's such a fierce situation going on between, I'd say, that the top 5, and all 5 of them have players that people in the community know are dangerous. Luna IO, the only team to beat Venom so far, but 3 behind them means that matchup between Argon and Venom does keep them both at the top. But with the 3 maybe most dangerous teams in this conference, arguably, considering some of the results they've been having, that it's going to be such an interesting battle to see who gets these top two spots, and might be the most interesting thing we've ever seen. The other thing to mention is in the middle, Vanguards went 8-0 and rightfully gets them above Oasis and Enclave and trying to join that top 5 fight. Not sure if they're going to get there though, and they do have only a +1 goal difference, a little bit off the mark of those top 5 yet.
It's just crazy to see how stacked this Ignis top half is, and you know what? I know it's too early, but even if you wanted to make a prediction of who takes, first place, you just can't with this conference. You really can't with Ignis. You could only say, oh yeah, I'll be out of these teams, but you can't stick with one just with how tight it is up in that top half. But we're going to move over to the fixtures to see, is there going to be an opportunity for these top teams to really climb and take the lead? Well, we're going to find out. Boopy, which fixtures really, spot your eye out on this one?
Well, I've gone for a few interesting ones. I'm gonna pick Zulu's games. I'm gonna pick Zulu versus Overtake, Zulu versus.
Everyone's going to be watching.
because I mean, with the record they have, surely they're gonna take a series at some point, and I want to be. I want to be there.
They don't need a series.
I want to be there to be like the guy that I saw them take a game. So yeah, those interest to me, but yeah, another few that interest me: Thanatos versus Temple. Those two teams are very close. That's going to be a good matchup. Avalanche versus Oracles. I do believe they're quite close as well. Together, let me check. I think they are. Yeah. No, they're not. I'm wrong. Never mind. Yeah,
2 wins apart. 2 wins apart. That's not that much.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's mine. That's mine.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Zulu's games. I mean, if they're going to get a win on anyone, I mean, Overtake is their best chance, as well, they are 9th. So, Zulu Overtake stream game, is that going to happen? Because I think that might break a record ship of viewers for a game. Surely, I mean, everyone's going to want to watch that. But personally, I mean, I know it's my own team, but I gotta pick out Phyllis Bravo and Eros here. I think this is a really good fight for these two teams if they kind of want to jump in to that kind of top 3 half, because we know Venom and Argon are really solid teams. Same with Luna. You could argue maybe they should be the 3rd place team, but I think this match will really kind of solidify who is going to be that team above to kind of slip into that top 4. And I'll head over to you, Barmanitan. Sorry, what fixtures are you looking at?
Well, considering Vanguards have just gone 8-0, they have another huge week ahead of them here. If they are to join this top 5 fight, this is the week to do it. They go up against Eros, they go up against Venom, 2 teams battling it out above them, and if they get results there, then they're well and truly part of this top 2 chasing pack, and it's going to be really, really tough for them, because we've seen the quality. We saw the quality from Venom on stream last night, and we've seen it from Eros in their results. So I'm looking forward to see if they can keep up this recent run of form. I mean, they'd lost 3 on the points before this 8-0 week, so really shows the turnaround that they've had. Zala Rhapsody as well, I think hasn't been mentioned. 2 and 2nd and 3rd in Glaciers going down, both trying to catch up to Bladesmiths at the top. So it's another interesting one to see if this top 3 battle is going to keep up, or if maybe 2 of them are going to race off, and who it's going to be joining Bladesmiths with that. If one of the teams get a sweep there, then it's going to be pretty damaging for the other's top 2 chances.
For sure, looking for damage to commence. And before we go over to the Master Tier, Boopy, I'm sure you want to say what we've seen in chat.
Yeah, I mean, we have a breaking announcement on the stream.
My word.
that Zulu, they have won their first game. Not their first series, their first game against Luna IO. Losing 1-3, but taking their first game, I mean, surely that's a step in the right direction.
It's time for celebration.
It is. It really is.
I mean,
they're on the boards.
It's against Luna as well. I mean, that's impressive. Honestly, going 0-24, then taking a game on Luna. That's something to go into this next week. But talking about next week, we're going to go over to the Master Tier now to see how they've been doing, see how the results have been holding up. As usual, we're going to go to you first, Boopy. And I see you've picked out here Iovi's 3-1 and also Rias Legion's 4-0 onto Nocturne and also Dion, Gladiators, and Einsteinium.
Yeah, well, with Iovi playing Hades, the 2 teams that really surprised me in week 1 of being really, really strong master teams were Iovi and Hades. So I was always kind of waiting to see the result when they played. So that's why that one interested me. But 3-1, Iovi taking the win and securing themselves top of the standing. So a really good win for them. The most surprising one that I saw this week was Rias Legion sweeping Nocturne. I really did not expect that. I really rate Nocturne as a team, and I just didn't think that Rias Legion would be able to take them down, especially in a sweep. So that interested me. And also, Dion, I'm doing a butter. I can't pronounce the team names, but they had an amazing week this week, going 7-1.
I just have a point here. I've just realized Nocturne were playing Bondab, a rival sub, so that maybe explains the sweep a little bit more.
Okay, fair. Okay, that explains it a little bit more. Fair play.
Still not great.
Still not great. But Well, yeah. I mean, it's difficult to play with rival sub, but yeah, Dion having a 7-1 week, taking down Gladiators 3-1 and Einsteinium 4-0. And they were kind of, I think they were at a three-way tie. So Dion planting themselves in second due to those results. And yeah, ending on a 7-1 record is really good for them.
7-1's always a good one to end the week on. And at Barmanitan, you've pointed out here, Sub-Zero's 4-0 on a very good team. And Carnage going on a 6-2. And also Warlock's draw to Chianina.
Yeah, I like your clever avoidance of the Zimtra team there, the dreaded franchise for all of us.
My brain is too huge.
It's too huge, but yeah, it is Zeus. I'm going to go with first loss, and it's Sub-Zero's first sweep of the season. So a bit of a shocker there. Obviously, Boopy is going to be over the moon with this one, but it again shows that no team is safe anywhere in this league. You've always got to be on the lookout, and you see a team so far below you, maybe think you've got a bit of a let off, but not the case here. Sub-Zero absolutely take it to you and win every single game. Then we have Carnage. They go 6-2 on a 5-winning streak here as they win both games this week, and the only 2 losses were an OT loss, so, those are kind of coin flips and understandable, and then Berserk had a hat-trick for Perks, so, things that are maybe slightly out of their control, and they do very well to win the 6 that are in their control. The other one, you said, Warlock's drawing with Chianina. It's Warlock's first result on the board. Yeah, it's their first non-loss, so they're still quite far off the mark, but like we've seen in other tiers, there's teams here that are finally starting to pick up their first non-loss, and it bodes well that they're able to do it at least in week 3. Where if it goes any later, you're getting a bit more concerned. And that was GTO's first game as a main player for them. Shows that there's definitely positivity for them going forward.
For sure, and I got to give a little credit to Carnage here as well. The only team in the Master Tier to not lose a series yet, so we're going to see how long they can keep that to themselves. But heading over to the standings. No, what?
I don't think Diane have lost, according to the standings I'm looking at.
Yeah. So scrape. No. I meant wins only. Wins only. That's what I meant. See, I converted.
Well, Carnage have drawn a game.
Hey, on
you
my
can't
standing.
expose him on the stream like that.
Not exposed.
How dare you? Okay, all right. Delete the VOD. All right. Anyway, going to the Glacier standings. As we see here, Boopy, we see quite a close table here, but then 9th and 10th really starting to separate from Chianina.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, IOV taking that top spot. Nocturne and Rias Legion kind of hot on the heels, as well as ZEU, very close. So very close. I mean, very close all the way through, to be honest. Only 7 wins from 8th to top. And then Warlocks and Haven not having the greatest time at the moment, but hopefully they can pick up some results and move up. But yeah, I mean the table itself is very close. Anything could really happen next week, and this could completely shift up.
For sure, and for some reason I always like to look at the goal difference. Chianina, -4, sitting in 8th. I mean, they're doing something right, but they just can't score enough. So, they can keep that defense up. Maybe they can look to climb into that top 6. But as we switch over to the Ignis conference, we still remain Carnage up top. And it's kind of similar to Glacies here, but a little bit less of a gap sitting from Overwatch and Storm, Barmanitan.
Yeah, similar in ways, but also dissimilar. Carnage have got a bit more of a lead at the top, and their goal difference is a little bit better than IOV's on the other side. I think IOV only the 8th best goal difference, despite being in the top of their conference, but Carnage are second to that front. Only Nocturne are above them, so they're looking very good in wins, very good in scoring in them as well. We see Dion moving up over Luna Titan with their great week. It didn't really look like they were going to catch them at the start of week 3, but here they are going into week 4, and they're the ones that are hottest on the heels of Carnage. Gladiators, they go up into the 3-way tie in the middle here, technically overtaking Alpha on goal difference, but again, we're seeing a lack of movement at the bottom, and you can see how tough it is for these teams to get up and running and try and challenge for these spots. Einsteinium and Perks and Overwatch only all at most 3 wins off, but still, if you're not moving up at this stage, you've really got to make sure that you don't leave it too late, because otherwise, you see this 3-way tie in the middle, you see how competitive it is. They could really be making it too difficult before you actually wake up and make sure to get the results you need.
You know, I'm just glad to finally not see Fierce Alpha all the way down there. You know, it's honestly great to feel. You know, they may not be at the top, but at least they're not 10th. You know, confidently. But anyway, moving on to the week 4 fixtures for your master tier. Boopy, what fixture really stands out to you here?
Well. Let's have a look. I'm a little bit delayed on the stream, so just waiting for it to pop up, and it has. Sorry about that.
Way. Here he goes.
I've seen one, but I can't be biased. I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to pick Carnage versus Dion. That's going to be an interesting one. Carnage, I mean, really causing carnage in the Ignis standings, and Dion. Dion had a really good week last week, so that's going to be interesting. I'm going to say the biased one as well because I think it'll be a good match. I think IOV versus Sub-Zero will be a good match, especially after the week Sub-Zero had going 8-0 and sweeping ZEU. I think it's going to be a real challenge for them to try and take down IOV. IOV being the strongest team in Glacies, so those are the two that I've got my eyes on.
Well, but before I pass it over to you, Barman, you know, just to for you, Boopy, just being biased here, you got to predict a result now, just so we can go back on this and kind of.
I can't predict a result.
Okay,
definitely not delete the VOD.
yeah. We got to keep it now. We got to keep it. You got to give us a prediction now.
It depends whether Detroit's on 5M for 6 hours before the match or not. Is what it depends on. But I'll go with a safe 2-2. I can't offend anyone then.
All right, you heard it. Boopy said easy.
You offend your own team, I guess.
Easy sweep from Boopy. Barman, what match looks good for you?
Seeing Storm here with another difficult week considering the situation. Not as bad as Haven on the other side, but only 5 wins and 7 wins off of the mark for the play-in spots. You're going up against Luna Titan, who are 3rd, and Gladiators, who have just gone up into 5th, so their life is not getting any easier. They really need to start waking up sooner or later. We will also see, I think I had another one, but it was the point that we have top 2 matchups in Massive this week. Boopy's talked about Carnage Day, and he's talked about IOV Sub-Zero, but he hasn't talked about IOV Nocturne, and this is going to be huge for seeing how these top teams in Master do match up, because, you know, we've seen Nocturne get a sub last weekend and drop their second, that's actually their second loss of the season, so they certainly have weaknesses, but this is a moment for them to prove that they are going to show up to matches. They are going to make sure that they are making the most of their opportunities here, and I can't wait to see how this one goes down, to see if we have another mix-up at the top of these 2 conferences.
We will find out in this future week, and as we head over to Barmanitan, screw it. As we go to your territory, we'll say that, all right? Because me and Boopy, you know, we know barely nothing here in Premiers here, but either way, we're seeing some good results, and I see you've pointed out the 0-0 prospects with their draw onto, I can't say that name, and Trinitas' 4-0 onto Null.
Yeah, Cagliari, come on.
Yeah, that's it. I'll just say Ranchero. There we go.
Yeah, Ranchero's team. They've come in for their first result here after being, I think, the top team in terms of raw results in the RSC Weekly. They get a very respectable 2-2 draw against the 0-0 prospects, and, you know, it's one that not a lot of people were expecting. I think coming into this, people were looking at 0-0 prospects and thinking they were going to wipe the floor with a lot of teams, but already finding an obstacle, and they still did get a Brazil in game 4 to really show that, you know, they're a team with flair, they're a team with style, but only getting the 2-2 means they sit firmly mid-table in Glacies. Trinitas over Null, another one that not a lot of people were expecting. Null predicted second, Trinitas we put a little bit further down, but already Trinitas going top in one of only 2 sweeps this week. It's huge for them, and, you know, one of the only 2 Irishmen in here, Shane, part of that team, you know, gotta point that out. The other one that I think is maybe the most interesting in terms of the situation is London Esports beating Solus, and it's because they had 2 subs. They have Tango, who is their actual sub, and he came in and got 2 MVPs, 5 goals, and the second highest points per game in the series, so really stepped up from him. And Karka came in as a temp FA sub and got 7 assists. He didn't score, but that doesn't matter when you're setting up your teammates that much, and it's really provided London the springboard to maybe they dropped the 1 game against Solus, but still looking very strong. We also saw Dustsucker versus Ascens on stream. You know, we've got the 3 stream results as well. Dustsucker going up, Luna beating Austrian. Me and Hops did that one, and Austrian, even when they lose, they still look so impressive at times. And Centurions, they got 2 overtimes against TT Vilhappen. It's really hard to count any of these teams out, and so many exciting matchups here in the first week. It's going to be a really, really nice season of Premier. Somehow even more improved than Season 9, or Season 8, sorry.
I mean, it's only been week 1 of Premier, as we
Week
do
1.
go week 1, exactly. As we go over to the standings for the Glacies conference, obviously you can't really say too much because, as said, it's only been 1 week, and obviously in the Premier tier you only play 1 series a week. But just from these standings, Boopy, we'll chime you in here for this one.
Yeah.
Just go off the numbers because we know nothing about Prem.
Oh, we know everything about Prem. Yeah, I mean, you can tell the 3-way tie, 2nd to 4th, and the 3-way tie, 5th to 7th. Obviously, with the nature of these kind of the way Premier's set out with only having the 1 game every week, it's bound to be very close. But it is very, very close. And yeah, Trinitas really sitting at the top at the moment and getting that sweep. So definitely looking very strong in Glacies. So yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And as we go over to the Ignis conference, Barmanitan, in this conference, we don't see any draws. We're seeing the 4 wins and the 4 losses. And do you think, getting those sweeps, do you think that's an even bigger effect in obviously a format where you only play 1 series a week?
Yeah, especially when, I mean, it's tough enough against the teams that are on your level, but maybe Centurions, who are, for the most part, the underdogs of this Ignis conference, representing RSC outside of here, playing under Centurions, they do fall to a sweep, but it's also impressive to get the 2 overtimes. But maybe on the same hand, even more impressive that TT Vilhappen stuck it out and made sure they got all 4 wins. They've just been to a Nitro League LAN where they got 4th as well, so you can really see how good this team is going to be and how much of a challenge it's going to be for Luna, our reigning champions, and 0-0 prospects, who have a reigning finalist on their team. And Musterfluck have a reigning finalist as well. There's so many storylines going on here, but TT Vilhappen and Trinitas are the ones making the statement at the start with that 4-0 sweep. It's going to be interesting to see if anyone can catch them going into the results of next week.
Why you talk about interesting, and we are going to head over to the fixtures to see what interesting, games are going to be coming up in this week number 2 of this Premier tier. And Boopy, you want to just throw one out there?
Absolutely. Mustufluck versus 0-0 prospects. I'm a big Mustufluck fan. I think they're goated. I've heard 0-0 prospects is definitely one of the top dogs as well, so I think that's going to be a very interesting match. Apart from that, London Esports versus Trinitas, that's going to be a huge match as well. To be announced, I presume. Not scheduled yet, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? Just so I don't have to put too much input, I'll say the London Esports game. That's my one right there. We don't know when it is, but that's the series to watch. But Valentine, what ones are you looking forward to?
I'll stick with Ignis there. Dark Magic taking on Dustsucker. They've both started with their 3-1 win, but Dark Magic got it against the supposed easier team in Nami Brigade. So Dustsucker, I think, a little bit of a step up from that, and interesting to see if the Arabians the Saudi Arabians will be able to keep it up. RLCS main event regulars, the Mizixi and Rixi, but coming up against Europe here, different sort of playing field for them, and they've proven against Nami. We'll see if they can prove it against Dustsucker. For Null, it's going to have to be a bounce back, and having Nami on there is maybe a boon for them, but it's also maybe the potential banana peel to derail their season even further. I think Muster 0-0 is the most exciting matchup on Glacies. I'll give you that. Another Nordic rival. We've got quite a few Nordics in this tier, but Luna taking on Centurions. You imagine Luna will be able to take it. The other two, I think, are not quite as exciting as Muster 0-0, but also just as close. And we could see another few draws coming out here. Cagliari and Finale starting with a draw. Wouldn't be surprised to see them continue with those results.
Well, we'll see that in the upcoming week, and that is the roundup from the week 3 and week 2 results from all your tiers. And we're going to head over to, the special guest section. This is where we get to speak to someone, every week. Actually,
franchise standings.
You forgot.
Never mind.
He's done it. He's pulled the hops.
Hey, my brain is not there. Franchise standings, here it is, and yes, Boopy, you can say what you want to say. Go on.
Let's go. Arctic Frenzy knocking down Fearless into the 3rd spot. I'll try not to be too biased, but I mean, obviously you can see kind of quite a distinct top 4 at the moment. It's quite close, 4th up to 1st. and it's going to be interesting to see kind of, which franchise will kind of end up on top. But going down from there, Galamo 68, Overture 67, those two very close together as well. And then from Zimtra down, it's all very close, really. I mean, you have the tie on 61, 63, 62 for Zimtra and Forge, 59 for Sanctuary, 58 for Shaman, and 57 for Element, 56 for Solaris. I mean, pretty much from 14 up to 7th is very close. It could change. I mean, this week it could change easily. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of early stages in the season. We're nearly approaching that halfway mark. So, even these bottom franchises down here could easily rise into that mid section. And, whilst I have the power of hosting, because after my butchering, I don't know if I'm going to be here in this position again, but I got to give credit, to my AGM. He's really helped out. Have we ever seen Fearless in third in franchise standings? Like, come on, have we ever seen that?
I think not.
I don't think we've even been top 10 before, let alone that. But, I'll enjoy that whilst it lasts. But now we move over to the special guest. We're now there. I need to get off this screen when Boopy's overtaken me. But first of all, we're going to welcome our special guest, Laroni. First of all, welcome here to the RSCast. And, before I pass you over to Barmanitan with the questions to start us off, how you doing?
Hello there. I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for inviting me. Much appreciated.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Barmanitan, I'll let you start it off.
Yeah, I'll go back to the RSC Classic here. I mean, first of all, welcome. Also, but I'm going to go back to your origins. You've been here as a player for quite a while, but what made you want to create your legacy as a GM and step up to that when a lot of people have been looking at you as a top candidate in IEL and getting results there. What made you decide to jump over here and bring that GMing franchise, bring Galamo in to RSC?
Well, I've paid attention throughout the time that I've been in RSC on how the league was doing, and also I had some friends in there. All of them were enjoying the league, and me personally, besides not having the best journeys, I also enjoyed how the league was doing. The community as well, it's a pretty nice league overall. Just a lovely community as well. And I felt like bringing in that experience we had in management from IL and other leagues into the RC and see how things would go.
It's certainly been going well for you. You're sitting in 5th after the opening 3 weeks. But on that note, how do you think it's going to pan out in the rest of the season? Do you think you have a chance at catching these top 4 franchises that are really making a statement, or are you happy in 5th? Are you happy with how it's been going so far?
Well, I would say we definitely have some pretty good chances in getting into the top places. Right now, top 5. I believe we could get into that first place with some good effort. Most of our teams are looking pretty good right now, and the teams that are having difficulties, we're getting them sorted out. So I believe things will go well for us.
It's great to hear, and thank you for answering the questions. I'll give you back to Buddha.
No worries.
Yeah, Barmanitan always smashes those questions. Well, Laroni, it's probably our first proper encounter. Hello,
Hello there.
As you talk about, being 5th in the franchise standings, here being your first season, well, as a GM, of course, in the RSC, it's pretty impressive to be this high in your first season. And, just to give kind of me a tip for future, definitely not for the chat, how do you maintain that high performance as a GM?
Well, it's a really hard thing to stay at the top, and we're only in week 3. We might be in 5th place, and then we could get either pushed up, let's say, to 3rd place, or just get knocked out, for example, to 11th place. It's really hard to have actually consistent results in every single team. What we usually do in every single team is just paying attention to how they're doing, giving them the support they need, and see how things go from there.
Sounds good. I'll make sure to keep that in mind so I don't get another Fearless Alpha season. But Boopy, you got anything for Laroni?
Well, yeah, I mean, what made you decide to come over? Well, not specifically come over, but come to RSC as well as IEL as a GM.
Well, for IEL, there's actually been a long time that I've been in there. About 1 year and a half, maybe 2 years. I'm not that sure. But however, Galamo isn't only a franchise that's evolved in the IEL, so we kind of wanted to expand that. And throughout the years, that's what we've been able to do. However, yeah, this is our first season in the RSC, and it's a really good league for us to just be able to put our mark and being able to help other players succeed as long as our franchise as well.
Have you found anything kind of challenging and different to IEL? Because I know that the GMing in there is very different to how it works over here.
At first, taking a look at all the things regarding the draft, it was a bit complicated to understand all of that. Like there was a bunch of things to take a look into, how the draft works, who to take a look into first. Fortunately, I would say the draft overall that we had, like our picks were pretty good. Fortunately, I didn't mess that up. Got the best picks.
I did.
And
No, I'm joking.
yeah, and I mean the draft overall, it was decent. Like we had a good amount of the players we wanted, some not, but yeah, we can't get them all, and I did learn that, and I also understood that when coming into the draft. But hey, that's really the only difficulties and new things that I've seen. And also managing 5 teams, that's also a really tough challenge. I've never done it in a league, so I don't mind taking in new challenges, and I'm looking forward to see how things are gonna go with that.
Amazing. Well, that's all the questions I have. Well, welcome to RSC, your first season here.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've been smashing it, so good job.
Thanks. Hopefully we can keep that going.
Surely you can. I believe.
Well, but belief's all you need, you know. He's fifth in franchise standings. As you said earlier, it's only week 3, but you know, you gotta believe. I believe Galamo will stay up in that top 10 at least. You know, they've got to stay rising. But
Yeah.
you know, I'll give you one last question before I let you go and probably do better things and speak to Buddha. Heading into your future weeks, what's kind of your main goal to keep your teams at that top level?
Well, that's a good question. Well, there isn't much special about that besides what we're doing right now. I would just say to make sure that they're focused and actually want to get it to the top and actually want to make a proper team. Because there is some people that come in into the RC and actually aren't that interested in putting in the effort to get to the top. But that's what we're gonna look to do, is looking to give some attention to all the teams and make sure they have the right tools to get there.
Very, very well said, and you know, thank you for taking some time of your evening to, you know, come on here, you know, chill with the chat, chill with us. We appreciate it. Thank you, and you know, good luck for the rest of your season.
Thank you, and no worries. Was a pleasure to come around.
So nice, so humble. This is why we love Leroni, you know. But unfortunately, you know, that does end the special guest section. But if I'm correct, and I should be here. Okay, I'm not gonna fumble this one. We go into the clip of the week.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm so good. See, it's not like I've got the notes right in front of me.
It's ingrained, but don't worry.
It's all in my brain. But let's roll the video. Let's see what clips we've got coming up.
Push me to the left. One up. Nice.
Oh my KO.
Nice.
Oh my lord. You disgusting beast. Who are you?
Well, as always, the clips are always top tier, but what was your favourite one, Boopy?
I have to go with Spartax, as much as it pains me. On the Symbiotes franchise, my arch nemesis for 2 seasons. I have to go with that goal. I mean, it was insane. The air dribble to the flip reset, and then the dunk afterwards into the goal. I mean, it has for me. It has to be Spartax.
I mean, it was a great goal. Barmanitan, which one takes your liking?
It's really tough to pick. It's great to see prospects getting on here. I think it's the first time they've been on this season when, you know, they've been hitting them in previous seasons. They're finally on the board here. It is a great clip from Max Power and from I think it's Caro. It's the team, but I think I'm gonna go different from both. I'm gonna go with KO. You know, you have the calm celebration as well. It's a great shot, and I'll just doing it to be a little bit different. But looking at the vote, it doesn't seem like my vote's gonna matter too much at this rate.
Nah, he saw the word fearless alpha and it's like, yeah, screw you, but you know, I'm just gonna vote against you.
Subconsciously.
Yeah, that was definitely his reason. But everyone in chat, make sure you are voting for your favorite clip so we get a winner. And I mean, at the moment, it is Sky, known as Evie, who is winning it so far, and no one giving the prospect love to Power there. I mean, you know, the prospect here making it here, you know, that is a great thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of prospect clips have been put in for each week's, but they just don't really make it a lot of the time because of the, you know, the higher level goals that come in from the upper tiers. So it's good to see them on there this week.
Sure, it's always a pleasure to see prospect or challenger make it here, and I mean, you know, they've pulled off some crazy clips in the past, as you know, the veterans of RSC will know of, but. You know, we got Sky leading. Spartax very close, though. I mean, you know, they were both very incredible goals, and KO and Karim and Power all actually tied for 2 apiece here. So it could be a close one. You know, is one of them going to bring it back? You know, last second, boom. You know, they grabbed 10 votes. I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, either way, your winner of the clip of the week, number 3, is going to be Sky, known as Evie, with 12 votes, but Spartax, I mentioned, coming in second with 8 votes, so, you know, really proving that they were both fantastic goals, and, you know, as always, for the viewers, we're going to roll it again.
Push me to the left. One up. Nice.
Oh my KO.
Nice.
Oh my lord. You disgusting beast. Who are you?
Well, there was the clips, and again, the winner, Sky, known as Evie, did win clip of the week number 3, but we go from seeing some pretty cool clips, but now we go to the part where someone does get embarrassed here on the RSCast. It's now fail of the week. Barman and Boopy, I mean, this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah,
It's so much
I
fun
always
every
love
week.
the fail of the week.
Someone's day is always ruined.
Well, let's find out who it is.
Med sensors.
Camera. And to the right.
Oh, look at you.
Oh no.
Oh, please drop it.
No.
No.
Nah, please. He doesn't. Oh my.
Gotta be kidding me. That's a joke.
You might send us.
There we go. And to the right.
Oh, look at you.
Oh no.
Oh, please drop it.
No. No.
Nah, please. He doesn't. Oh my.
Gotta be kidding me.
Oh, it's just the way he's like, nah, please. Yeah, and you just see it dropping. It's the fact that someone in chat DM was like, yeah, that's failure of the week right there.
They knew.
Oh my god.
Every week it just seems to get better. I mean, what can you say about that one? I was talking about him earlier. He comes in and gets 2 wins for his team, but he does that, which is arguably even more impressive.
Yeah, the fact it was 0 seconds, and not only that, it was 0 goals as well. Like, it was clearly a really intense match, and that's just the worst ending to it, surely.
I mean, you know, week by week, we're like, no, wait, you can't get worse than that. But, well, it's been proven, and in a way, I guess, you know, congratulations. But it's a very unfortunate event to happen, but there's your fail of the week. And, you know, we go into more improving parts, so we're not embarrassing someone too much. We go into the weekly awards, and first off, Barmanitan, take us with it, with Prospect.
Here we go. The part that is much more pleasurable than being featured on Fail of the Week. We go into Prospect. We start with your MVP, John W., coming in with 485 points per game. Next up is our finisher, Buzzy26. Couldn't save McMahon's shot, but at least he was scoring some goals of his own as he got 2 goals per game. Your striker in Prospect is the Krezer, 66.67% shooting accuracy. Your playmaker is 00 Donut, also known as Double O Donut, 1.38 assists per game. Very high number coming in from him. And your savior of the week will be Invariant with 2.75 saves per game.
And now moving over to the Challenger tier and seeing the Challenger Weekly Awards. The MVP award is going to go to Nor, 540 points per game. The finisher also to go to Nor as well, 2.5 goals per game. Striker Kieran with 100% shooting accuracy, which frankly is insane.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do better than that, surely. And playmaker going to Nakoma, 2 assists per game, and savior being your boy Hazard, 2.75 saves per game.
Impressive stats there, but as we now go up to the rival tier, we're going to start off with the MVP, AV, with 535.5 points per game, and also getting the finisher as well, with 2 goals per game, and Zoldi getting 60% shooting, actually claiming that striker, and Beefcake grabbing that playmaker with 1.75 assists per game, and Sir Cubics wrapping up that savior with 2.75 saves per game.
All 5 of them, well, 4 of them, because Avi's on there twice, doing a spectacular job. But we move on to Elite. We start off with your MVP. It is Nick from Luna IO, 555 points per game for him. Your finisher of the week is Boopy's, or Bruto's team, sorry, got the wrong GM there. Bruto's team getting in here with Raxon, 1.75 goals per game. Your striker is Papusa. They might be at the bottom of the table, but at least they have something in players of the week here with 66% shooting accuracy from him. Your playmaker, it's one that I don't know. It's Scarzy. I'm going to go with 1.75 assists per game for the Gladiators. And finally, in Elite, your savior of the week is Serenity with 2.75 saves per game, just pipping Sato to the award.
And moving on to the Master tier, we have our MVP Serve, 512 points per game. Our finisher of the week is going to be Pacey with 1.63 goals per game. The striker being Azazel, 57% shooting accuracy. The playmaker of the week going to Laser with 1.5 assists per game. And the savior of the week going to Lovely Cans with 2.5 saves per game.
Beautiful stuff right there. And as we go to the final tier, we go to the Premier tier. And your MVP will be PZY, 556 points per game. Also claiming finisher as well with 2 goals per game. And Nim, 100% shooting accuracy. As Boopy said earlier, you can't get better than that. And in your playmaker, it will be Kaka with 1.75 assists per game. And Lucapolo grabbing Saviour with 2.75 saves per game. And it seems to be quite a repetition of 2.75 saves per game.
Yeah, across the board. That's the magic number to get yourself up here. But we move in to the team of the week. All 6 players featured here. We finally have 6 as Premier has begun. Did outstanding for their team, and even we have a couple of Arctic Frenzy and Fearless players featured. We start in prospect with Lucaris, 411 points per game for Fearless Echo. Then it's Nuke123 for Helium, 447 points per game for him. Your rival player of the week is Dan for Fearless Charlie, but his teammate here has done exceptionally well for himself to get onto this pedestal. Next up in Elite, it will be Premier, who's maybe wrongly placed with his name in for Vanguards. 393 points per game, really well done for him. Wizard from Sub-Zero claims Master Player of the Week with 472 points per game, and hopefully I get it right. I think it's Sai for TT Willhaben from Premier, gets one of the only 2 sweeps this week in Premier. 556 points per game, highest of anyone on this page, and what a performance from all 6.
It's always a great performance on the team of the week. I mean, what some stats we're seeing there. But that is going to be your team of the week. And now we are going to head over to the Fantasy League.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the Fantasy League. And Buddha himself making the cut for Prospect with 242. For Challenger, we have Dispatch, the top manager of the week, with 300. Rival, we're going to have Axlos, my own AGM, 278. And Elite, it's going to be tied between Dylan and Season, 265. For Master, it's going to be Axlos and Ren, who are tied on 283. And for Premier, it's going to be B-Shake on 146.
Damn. You know, he may be a Prospect player, but he seems to know the secret strats of Premier tier. B-Shake does. Well, maybe we'll see him there next season, but we are going to head over to your top overall manager in 6th, Maurice, 3,089. And it will be Dylan in 5th with 3,131. And Twisted above him with 3,165. And it will be Ark in 3rd place, 3,198. In 2nd place, Axlos, 3,307. And Mr. Deep Sound in 1st place, 3,345 with just under a 40-point lead.
Very well done from Mr. Deep Sound to keep his place at the top. The spectators still proving high above them all, but after our Fantasy League roundup, we will go into our series of the week. And I mean, wow, they just keep getting better every single time. We have the YouTube featured here. You know, we'll also try and get some other content on there, but your series of the week for week number 3 is Argon versus Venom. Happened last night. I was on the cast, and I can tell you just how exciting this matchup was. Top 2 going down. It ends up being a really, really close matchup as they keep their places at the top. And with all the teams that are chasing them, they had to put up this great performance. We saw the fight back from Argon as they were desperately clinging on at times, but they got their 3-second equalizer in game number 3 to eventually be able to win it in OT there. And then they did take game number 4 as well. Some top-class goals. You saw Spartax's goal in the clip of the week montage. That was in this one, so you cannot miss this one. Make sure you go check it out on YouTube.
I mean, what a series that was. I mean, if you weren't watching that series, then you better have been doing something important, because that was one to watch.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, I was streaming at the time, and even I had it on my other screen because it was just an insane series. But I do believe we are moving on to a little announcement. But
yeah, you've kind of just sprung that one on me. Thank you very much, Boopy.
No, I'll take it right back. But, sorry about that one. But yeah, we have a little bit of an announcement. We are going to be running an editing competition. And there will be a few more details being announced shortly on this, but essentially you will be getting 5 clips that you edit into a montage, and the best montage will be winning 3,000 credits from this. So it'll be a a pretty cool thing to enter if you're doing some editing. And the basis of this is just looking for, potential people that do like to edit and may potentially want to kind of help out and get a spot on the staff team. Obviously, RSC being run by, volunteers, and we just need all the help we can get. So anyone that can edit, make sure to get into that competition and win yourself 3,000 credits.
We've already seen one competition be won this week. Vino, our Swedish caster, did win the HyperX microphone, and we have another giveaway for you folks. It just keeps coming, and yeah, do make sure you get involved with that competition, with any more giveaways that come through on the Twitter. And as Boopy said, we're always looking for more volunteers. Any help is appreciated, but this is a great way to get involved if you do want to help out the RSC in any shape or form.
I mean, who doesn't want to enter giveaways? You just got to enter, and boom, you can win something. I mean, look, HyperX mic. I mean, as I'm holding one, trust me, you don't want to miss out on a HyperX mic. They're very, very good. They're very tasty stuff. I mean, I can't complain.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd never taste a mic, but fair.
Some days you feel a bit hungry. You got to, you know what I mean?
Oh god.
Well, we're gonna stop talking about eating mics, and we're gonna move over, to our sponsor here, Barmanitan. I'm gonna let you take this away because I will fumble this very, very hard.
Yeah, we are entering the closing stages of the RSCast tonight. But before we do, a massive thank you to all of our sponsors and people that are helping out behind the scenes in Versus Gaming, in Luna Organization, in Badass, in HyperX. Versus Gaming, of course, providing for the weeklies. That one going down tomorrow. They happen every Tuesday, and we have an increased prize pool. €250 will be on the line tomorrow night. And there might be something extra special there. You'll have to wait and see what's laid before your eyes if you do think that one's going to be interesting for you. Of course, we'll have Hobson Vector back on the mic, but yeah, that'll be it for us, folks. Once again, thank you to all our sponsors, and make sure you check out the socials, RSC_EU, and just about everywhere you can find someone: Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. Make sure you follow us on all of those places. But here you have the prize pool graphic to see us out. This is the amount of money you could be winning. Make sure you do join RSC at any opportunity you have. But folks, thank you for watching. It's been another great week of RSC, and I cannot wait to see what's coming in the weeks that are awaiting us.
Sure, and Boopy, Barmanitan, been a pleasure to be here with you. As I said earlier, might be my last opportunity as a host. I've loved it. I've enjoyed it. Across the stumble.
We appreciate you. You've done very well.
That's all that matters.
Amazing.
I guess I got to go 1v3 that weekly real quick,
Of course. You gonna close it, Buddha? You gonna do it as our host?
I was flexing, okay? Anyway.
That's my job, Buddha.
It's been myself, Buddha, hosting with Barmanitan and Boopy. Great people alongside me. And also Ark in the background, switching the graphics and putting up with us here, just messing around. But until then, guys, make sure to catch the future streams for some very interesting League games in week number 4. But until then, we'll see you guys next time.